Mr. Godwin Otogo, who is going to be joining us today, and we'll be discussing the Chevening Scholarship. Please, sir, if you're there, can you unmute your mic and say hello to everybody? Pastor Godwin, can you hear me? I just want to confirm that I'm audible. Can you indicate in the chat box? Can someone indicate if you can hear me clearly? All right, thank you so much, Festus. I'm trying to get my co-panelists, Pastor Godwin, to come on and say hello to everybody. Pastor Godwin, are you there? Okay, I can hear you, but you're barely audible. Oh, fantastic. You're welcome, sir. How are you doing this evening, sir? All right. So, like I said earlier on, sir, you're welcome. So, Pastor Godwin is a Chevening scholar. I'd just like to read out his profile before we begin the conversation. So, Dr. Godwin Amotogo is a lecturer in the Department of Biological Oceanography, Faculty of Oceanography, University of Calabar. He obtained his first degree in marine biology from the same university, and he had his master's degree in applied marine and fisheries ecology from the University of Aberdeen, Scotland, United Kingdom. He also possessed a PhD degree from the University of Calabar. He's a scholar who has presented and published papers as well as attended workshops both at home and abroad. He's a watchman and happily married to Sister Blessing Otogo, and he lives with his family in the city of Calabar. He is also the campus coordinator of Watchman Campus Fellowship in Calabar Diocese, and he has won awards to the glory of God, including the prestigious Chevening Scholarship of the United Kingdom in 2012. He is a consultant to environmental companies, NGOs, and governments and NGOs such as Canadian International Development Agency, CIDA, Environmental Resource Managers Limited, ERML, and Concerned Universal. His area of research includes marine ecology, ecological modeling, impact of oil pollution on fisheries, as well as impact of climate change on aquatic life. He is a member of the Chevening Alumni Forum and is also a member of some professional bodies and research networks, such as Building Nigeria's Response to Climate Change, BNRCC, Marine Atmosphere and Coastal Research Network, MACON, and Nigerian Environmental Study Team. Please make welcome Dr. Godwin Otogo. Sir, you're highly welcome. All right, sir. So the first question I would like to ask you, just indicate if you can hear me clearly. Hello, sir. Dr. Godwin, can you hear me? All right, you're welcome, sir. So the first question I want to ask you, I think the network is giving some issues. The first question. Okay, great. So I want you to tell us what exactly is the Chevening Scholarship all about, and what exactly people wanting to know more about the Chevening Scholarship. What can you say about the Chevening Scholarship?
Yeah. We are not hearing. Dr. Godwin, we are not hearing.
For this opportunity that I have to share my experience with the brethren. Can you hear me now? Hello?
Yes, it's much better. Go ahead, sir.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Okay. Yes, sir. You can go ahead.
Please, can you see me?
Hello, sir. So, may I suggest you turn off your video so that you can increase the bandwidth? That way you'll be a bit more audible.
Okay.
All right, you can go ahead, sir.
Hello, sir. I was called to share my experience with the brethren. So I thank the Lord for this opportunity, and the brethren, all of us that are part of this
Hello, Dr. Godwin. Hello, sir. May I suggest you try leaving the call and coming back? Maybe the network would be a bit better, because we can barely hear you, sir. Okay, so while we wait for Dr. Godwin to reconnect, let me just give a brief overview on what the Chevening Scholarship is all about. So the Chevening Scholarship is an initiative of the government of the United Kingdom, and the idea behind the Chevening Scholarship is to empower leaders in different countries of the world. And that is the British government's way of empowering or or improving the lot of different communities and different countries. So the idea is they look for the best of leaders in these countries and they train them, they bring them to the United Kingdom to learn from UK institutions, UK universities, and also learn the way of life of the British people. And then these people, when they have been equipped with the skills, they can go back to their home countries and empower and actually make a difference. So since 1985 or thereabouts, this scholarship has been ongoing, and it's quite a robust one in that they have a rich alumni network. And in that network, you have people who are president. I think the current president of Philippines or Indonesia is a Chevening scholar. You have people who have gone on to be ministers. About nothing less than 5 ministers in Nigeria have actually passed through this scholarship scheme. So it's quite a robust network, and beyond just learning or beyond just getting a scholarship to study, you become a part of a network for life. Just off the top of my head, people like John Momo, that's the CEO of Channels Television, is a Chevening scholar. Different people. So when you become a Chevening scholar, you are not just getting a scholarship where they are giving you money to, or they are paying your school fees, but you are getting into a network. You become a part of a network where that will be beneficial to you in the long run. And because of this, the UK government want to ensure that it is the best of the best that they get. And there are certain criteria they look out for when they are recruiting Chevening scholars. And that's what we are going to be discussing today. Hopefully, when Dr. Godwin comes back, he's going to give us his experiences as a one-time Chevening scholar. So at this point, I just want to give us an exercise while we're still on the call. Just open your browser and go to chevening.org. I'm going to chat the website in the chat box. Chevening.org. So that's the website. I just put it there in the chat box. So that's the website for where you find information about the Chevening scholarship, and also you can make your application. So why we are having this meeting today is because the Chevening scholarship is actually open. It's open on the 2nd of this month, and it is helpful for one who has interest in studying a master's program in the United Kingdom to start applying as early as possible. And that's because if you don't apply, if you apply late, you may find it difficult putting in the best of applications. And another thing about the Chevening scholarship that I would like to point out is that it is a purely postgraduate program, and it is for master's degree level. You have other scholarships like the Commonwealth scholarship that you could have for master's degree or PhD, but for Chevening, it is purely a master's degree program. And today we are going to be discussing how you can go about your application. So that website that I put on earlier, you find every information you need to make a compelling application. But today what we are going to do is to share tips and also discuss in detail the way to go about it. Because like I said earlier on, there are certain things they are looking out for. And if you can communicate in line with what they are looking out for, then you stand a good chance. Reason being that the Chevening scholarship is very competitive. Now, you need to consider that it is not a scholarship for just Nigerians, right? It's not a scholarship for just Africans. People from across the globe are applying for this scholarship. And before this call, I tried to do a little bit of research to see how many people applied for the scholarship, how many people were given the scholarship. I found out that 1,500 people across the globe were given the scholarship this year. And can you guess how many Nigerians were given that scholarship? About 50 Nigerians. So think if about 8,000 to 10,000 people are putting in an application and only 50 are selected, then those 50 must be the best of the very best. And that's why we have Dr. Godwin here today. So he's going to give us his experience, and we can learn on how to write the essays. So briefly, I just want to talk about the steps that are taken when you are applying for the scholarship. For one, you have some requirements that you must meet if you want to be a part or you want to be considered for the scholarship. And one of the requirements is that you must have at least 2 years of work experience before you can be considered for the Chevening scholarship. And the reason for this is they want people who have been there and done that and have a track record of excellence, have a track record of leadership. So if you can convince them that you have actively been working and you have contributed so and so, then you stand a good chance. And when I say work experience, I don't mean it must be formal work experience. Internships can also count. I don't know if Dr. Godwin is back. All right, let's continue. So internships can count, volunteer experience can count, volunteer experience with NGOs, volunteer experience with international INGOs rather, international non-governmental organizations are also part. So anything you have done to show leadership, some level of leadership, is very much accepted. And when you're applying for the Chevening scholarship, at the first stage, you have to write some essays, right? And there are about 4 essays, and there are different things they are asking for. You have to also know that about 500 words for each essay, maximum of 500 words. So you have to be concise, and you have to be able to communicate or answer the questions that they have put out for you. And if you can do that, then you stand a good chance. So, like I was saying earlier on, please, if you are not speaking, can you turn off your mic? Dr. Godwin, are you back now? Can you? Can you speak now, Dr. Godwin?
I am back now. Yes.
Okay, sir.
I am back.
Okay. Fantastic, fantastic.
Good
And your
evening,
sound is much clearer. You're welcome, sir. You have the floor. Dr. Godwin.
Okay.
Hello, sir. Are you there? All right. So to save our time, I'll just continue, and then when Dr. Godwin comes in, he can signal us. So majorly, there are 2 steps in the process of applying for the Chevening scholarship. The initial step is when you have to fill in your biodata and answer the questions that are posed to you. And in this step, you'd have to answer 4 essay questions. Then after this step, what comes next is if you qualify, then you get to the interview stage and they will ask you questions. Sometimes it's going to be based on what you wrote in your essay. And if you are good at that point, that's when you'll be required to upload your unconditional admission offer. So one thing about the application for Chevening is that it is independent of the master's or the university application. So when you want to apply for a postgraduate program, you apply to the university, right? Sometimes there are some scholarships that are embedded into the application process to the universities, but because Chevening is a government scholarship, it is independent. So after applying to the school for admission, you also apply to Chevening for the scholarship, and it opens annually towards this period, like August, September. That's when it opens up. And the Chevening scholarship uses the September window. So I know there are some people who may be applying to school in the UK and then they're looking to go in January. Chevening doesn't really work on that calendar. It's usually the September window. So target September 2023 for this application that is open now. So in view of that, like I was saying, you apply, you write your essays, and then after that, you do the interview and then upload your unconditional offer. So at this point, if you don't have an unconditional offer from the university, you don't need to panic. All you just need to do at this point is to identify the universities that you want to apply to and the courses that are programs that you want to apply to. Yeah, so the perks of the Chevening scholarship. The Chevening scholarship is a fully funded scholarship, like fully funded, from visa application to your round trip flights, to your accommodation, to your school fees, to your stipends. The British government covers everything. And is one of the most prestigious scholarships out there. They take good care of their scholars. So that's the reason, one of the reasons why it's highly competitive. A lot of people are putting in an application for the Chevening scholarship. And at this point, I'd like to point out that it's important to know what you want, because for Chevening scholarship, there are conditions. And one of the conditions is that you need to return back to your home country. Right? After you finish studying in the UK, you have to come back to your home country and be there for at least 2 years. So for those that are thinking that, oh, we're going to get this Chevening scholarship and it's just our way to get out of the country or move to another country, you may want to consider another option, because Chevening doesn't work that way. So that being said, we're going to talk about the essays now, the 4 essays. And I will be sharing some tips with us. Hopefully, Dr. Godwin comes back as soon as possible. We are going to be discussing these 4 essays and what exactly they want from you and how. So the first one is about they're going to ask you a question about your leadership qualities, right? They're going to ask you a question about your leadership qualities. And the question will come this way. Chevening is looking for people who will be leaders and influencers in their home countries. Explain how you meet this requirement. And in this question, they want to know what you have done before, what is your track record, and where you have demonstrated leadership. And one mistake that a lot of people make is that they feel until they are under or they are in an office or they are occupying a big position, that is when they can demonstrate leadership. But that is not the case. People demonstrate leadership in different areas. You could give an example in your essay about how you were in a very difficult situation and you somehow managed that situation and the outcome was a positive one, and how you had to take advantage of your critical thinking skills and your organizational skills to ensure that something untoward did not happen. That is a good example. You could also talk about how you were able to play a significant role in your undergraduate days. Maybe you were a student leader and then you were able to change something or make a difference in the lives of people, or you are able to negotiate for a reduction in school fees. That is a leadership. You have demonstrated leadership by that way. Or maybe even in the church, you helped to put together the Hilltop program that brought youth from different areas or different parts of the country. And it was a wonderful program. And there were wonderful testimonies that came out of it, or that you could communicate. Basically, if you can communicate your level of impact, then you stand a good chance. Let me give you a story. I think I've used it a couple of times when I applied for different scholarships. So in the year 2015, I served in Lagos. And hello. Please, if you are not speaking, just mute your microphone, or if you want to say something, just raise up your hand and you'll be given the opportunity to speak. Thank you. So in the year 2015, I served in Lagos, and that was the time of the presidential elections, right? And I was in charge of one of the wards. I volunteered with INEC as an ad hoc staff. And during that time, that was the election that brought Buhari into power. My mandate there was to ensure that the election was free and fair in that ward. And I had 2 people working under me. And I had to manage over 1,000 people, right? And when I was carrying out my duties, everything was going on fine until the point where we had to take the sensitive materials back to... When it was time to take back the sensitive materials back to the INEC office, and then the people began to protest. And what were they protesting? They felt like if we take it back there, we were going to rig the elections. And I had to explain to them that no, this is standard operating procedure. When we are done, we have to take these sensitive materials back to the INEC office. You have seen the count, the number of votes were counted in front of you. The numbers are there, and it's not going to be different from what you're going to hear at the INEC office. I tried everything possible to persuade them, but they were not listening. And I noticed that the crowd was already getting antsy, and I saw a few rascals already in the crowd, and they wanted to take advantage of the noise and the chaos to cause problem. And I noticed that if I did not take any action, that there was going to be a problem. Either people were going to start fighting and get hurt, or one thing could just happen. So I had to think on my feet. What do? I looked around. There were no policemen around who could come and diffuse the situation. And then I realized, okay, I can see a few elderly people who are among the voting population. Let me take advantage of them. So I called a few of them together and I talked to them and I explained to them. I just behaved like, oh, I am your child. Oh, please see the kind of thing that is coming up. Please, can you help me talk to these people? So by the time I was able to win these elderly persons to myself and get their loyalty, then they were now able to talk. Of course, you know that the Yoruba people respect their elders. So if an elderly person is speaking, they are more likely to listen. So I just kept quiet and allowed these elderly people speak on my behalf. And then they spoke to them and everybody listened. And that was how that situation was diffused. So that is an explanation of showing leadership. It's not that until you have solved world hunger, or you have done something so remarkable before it is recognized as a leadership quality. There are certain things that we do on a day-to-day basis that also communicate our ability to show leadership skills. So that's just one example that you could use. And from this, you can see that there are many areas of your life that you have actually demonstrated leadership, and they want to see it. So this will be an opportunity for you to sell yourself. Remember, it is in 500 words. And another tip I'm going to give is that it should read like a story. One good thing about the Chevening scholarship is that when you are applying and you're writing these essays, they are asking strategic questions that if you can answer these questions in your essay, if you're applying to another scholarship, if you're applying to another program, you can still use it. Why? Because these 4 essays can be collapsed. They're asking the key questions that anybody would want to know about you for them to be confident enough to commit so much money into your education. So that is for leadership. Also, you need to bear in mind that they want to hear about your experiences and the impacts that you have had. So if you are talking if you're writing your essay, you need to also be able to communicate numbers. If you say, okay, I was presiding over a community of, like my example, over 1,000 people, and I was able to diffuse a situation that could have escalated into a full-scale riot. At the end of the day, ward was one of the most peaceful and most the places that experienced the highest level of efficiency in the coalition program or the coalition process of the INEC presidential election of 2015. That way, they are saying the numbers that you are presenting, and it is looking more viable. A friend of mine was saying that when he wrote his Chevening, when he was writing his essay, he was also putting links to what he had done before. And I think that is also a helpful suggestion. If you have links that showcase your experience, put it there. That is one of the ways that you can communicate to the committee, the screening committee, that you are actually a credible person. And if they choose to go ahead with you, that you would be they will be better for it. So basically, you want to put your best foot forward. You don't want to undersell yourself. You want to speak about the things that really matter. And that is what you should be looking out for in the essay that has to do with leadership. Dr. Godwin, are you available now? Okay, I'll go ahead. It's the pity I didn't plan on doing this myself, and yeah, but then we have to move on. So another thing that Chevening is looking out for when they ask their essays, they want to see your networking strength. Remember, I told you that Chevening scholarship, when you get in and you become an alumni of the program, you are part of a robust network of global leaders, people from different countries of the world doing big things, making a difference. So they want to see that you have that networking capability and the capability to influence people, right? And that is what the second question would be all about. They want, Chevening is looking for strong professional relationship building skills. They are looking for people who have strong professional relationship building skills and also social skills, in good interpersonal skills, who will help to build their robust network, and also help to push out the brand. So if you're somebody who can do that. Dr. Godwin, are you there?
Yes, I'm back.
Okay, your network is still not very strong. Hello, sir. So do you have a few points you would like to chip in with respect to the essays?
Oh. Yeah.
We're still struggling to hear you, sir. Okay, let me go ahead. I was talking about the second essay, which has to do with all right. So I was talking about the second question, which has to do with your professional relationship building skills. Now, when you're writing this essay, you need to communicate with clear examples how you have used your networks and what outcomes have you been able to achieve with based on your networks, and how you plan on using the Chevening network in the future. So if you are somebody who, no problem, doctor, it's unfortunate that the internet is acting up, but we will continue the conversation. So the essay here is trying to see that you are someone who can take advantage of network, and you can easily build networks. And if you are somebody who is you must not be an extrovert before you can be a leader, because one of the key skills that you need, one of the key ways you can show your leadership skills is taking advantage of networks and professional relationships. And a lot of people don't take advantage of this. We belong to, human beings are social animals, as the social scientists would say, and we belong to different networks, different associations, from your family to your school to your church. You meet with different people, and all these people form a part of your network. Those who are actively volunteering, if you volunteer with different organizations, those people belong to your network, right? So how can you speak to your level of network building, and how have you been able to take advantage of these networks to actually make a difference in the community that you find yourself? This is what Chevening wants to hear. So you could give an example. You could give an example and say, okay, remember, you are telling a story to them. You could talk about how you have volunteered in different organizations, and the organizations, what they are working towards, what are they trying to achieve? Is it in line with your professional goals? It would be nice to also add it there. So you have worked with these organizations and you have met different people, and through these networks, you have collaborated with so and so person to actually make a difference in this area. Maybe you have served as a copper, and then they took you to a community in, say, Benue. And when you got there, you found out there was a problem in that society. They had a challenge of lack of adequate healthcare facilities. Hello, Sister Joy, please can you mute your microphone? Interrupting us. Thank you. So they had a problem of lack of access to healthcare facilities. And because of that, a lot of women were dying. A lot of women were dying in childbirth. And you are a young doctor and you've come into this community. And based on your network, due to your volunteer experience working with different organizations that work in the public health domain, you were able to attract funding to build a healthcare facility in that local government. And because of that, so far, 20 women have safely delivered in that community. The cases of women dying at childbirth has reduced drastically from 25 women in 2015 to 2 women this year. Talk about the percentage. Talk about how much impact that work you have done has had in that community you find yourself. Talk about how many lives have been touched in one way or the other. Talk about how it was made possible due to the network that you have been able to build in times past, due to your different engagements, due to your different interactions. It could also be that you work in the area of you do solar and renewable energy, and you have been volunteering with different organizations that go to rural communities and light up those communities. It is part of a network. That is a network. So you say that, okay, I have been able to, due to my passion for clean energy and my passion for energy access, I have been able to work with a network of young energy enthusiasts to power up so and so community. Now we have so and so kilowatts of electricity we supply to this community. Now you find out that children who did not have access to light to study now have access to electricity, and because of that, there has been a significant improvement in their performance in secondary schools. The children who are preparing for WAEC this year are better qualified and better. Their ability has been enhanced because they have access to electricity. Talk about how it has reduced the effort that it has impacted in the lives of women in that community, because previously they have to travel long distances to fetch water, but since power came to the community, you can easily pump water, and then it cuts down the time that women and girls have to spend fetching water from the stream that is far away. Just basically communicating the impact that you are able to make with your network. That is a great way to go. Now you may be thinking, oh, I've not done something so grandiose as that. And that is where your volunteering experience comes in, because there's what you can do as an individual can be limited. But if you are working in a group, if you are working with a community, you find out that you can leverage that community to actually do big things. So if you are volunteering, any success that is attributed to the organization you volunteer with also is attributable to you. And that's the power of volunteering. And if you're on this call and you are not volunteering actively, I want to encourage you to volunteer, because that is one of the ways that you communicate to the scholarship body or the awarding committee that you are passionate about making a difference. Remember, you must understand what the people want. They are not just looking for somebody who would go to school. They want somebody who would actually make a difference and make a change. And what better way can you convince them that when they equip you and when they train you, you're going to make a difference than when they're already seeing your track record of what you have done before now. So it's important that you volunteer, you contribute to society, give back to society, because it would come in handy when you are for scholarships like this. So the high point of this second essay is they want to see the outcomes of your relationships and your ability to make connections that lead to societal impacts and how you have been able to contribute value. People use examples from their current place of work, but voluntary experience would also be helpful. And anything that is of societal value would help. Many people are students, many people when they were students, they contributed to the literary, the debate team. They contributed to the welfare of students through SRC. These things would come in handy. You served as a student leader, a student union representative, and you played a role and it led to something. Communicate it. Many people don't communicate these things, but if you have the skill of selling yourself, you would go a long way. So I think that's about that for this point. Another question they are going to ask you is to outline why you have chosen your 3 universities and your 3 courses, and explain how it connects to your previous academic/professional experience and what are your plans for the future. So one thing I did not mention earlier on is that when you are applying, they would ask you to put 3 universities down that you intend to study in, 3 UK universities, and also put 3 programs. So what you want to do is to ensure that these programs are not far apart, because it will be difficult explaining why you want to be a medical doctor and at the same time why you want to be a data scientist. You get. So you should make sure that the 3 courses that you want to study are kind of related. And here you also want to talk about the reason why you are choosing the university that you are applying to. You want to talk about why you are choosing that university. So a lot of people, when they're applying here, they begin to say things like, I want to school in the University of Cambridge because the University of Cambridge is ranked so in the QS world ranking and all of that. That may be true, but you want to dive deep into your reason why you are choosing that university. You want to show that you have done some proper research, because everybody will tell you that. If I ask you, like people that want to study development, that want to do development studies, one of the preferred universities in the United Kingdom is the University of Sussex, because that's like the best university in terms of to study international development. Yes, but aside from that, what else? Why else do you want to go there? So if you say something like, oh, I have seen the life of let's just assume at this point that Barack Obama went to University of Sussex. I've seen the life of Barack Obama, and I have seen how he has grown to become a world leader that everybody looks up to. I would like to model my career after him. And I find out that he is an alumnus of the University of Sussex. And that is one of the reasons why I've decided to apply to the university. Furthermore, the University of Sussex consistently produces the best of graduates in international development. Social research has shown that papers from the University of Sussex have been cited 88% paper, 88% of leading research comes from the University of Sussex. And due to that, it shows and demonstrates the research abilities of the university. I'm just giving the University of Sussex as an example. It could be any university, it could be any field. So if you can demonstrate tangible reasons why you want to go to that university, it communicates to your interviewer, or it communicates to the panel that you have actually done your research and you're not just going there for going sake, but there's a reason. Maybe there's a professor who is doing so well there. He's a world-renowned professor and he has put out great research in the field that you want to go, and the man teaches in that university. You could say, oh, I found out that so professor studies or lectures in this university, and I have gone through his research and it is in line with what I want to do. I look forward to the opportunity of working with him. And that's one of the reasons why I have chosen the University of XX as my preferred choice of university. It could also be due to their industry links. Maybe you want to study engineering and you find out that let me just say the University of Hull. The University of Hull in the United Kingdom is located in the Humber region, and that is the region that is that produces 10% of the energy that is used in Great Britain. And because of their strong energy link or their strong link with industry, you would like to go there and study, because it means that you are going to have first-hand experiences and you also be able to work on real-world problems and not just be another student, but you're going to actually have the experience of working on real-world problems. So if you can demonstrate that, it would be very helpful. It's going to stand you out from those who are just saying, I want to go to this university because, and then they give a flimsy reason. So it's very important you are able to communicate that. So I'm just going to give an example now. Let's say you want to study renewable energy, and you say that your first choice is renewable energy technologies from University College London, UCL. This is fictional. I don't know if that's how the program is tagged. And your reason for choosing UCL is because UCL is based in London. UCL is one of the foremost in engineering in the United Kingdom, great research competence, and also they have access, they have well-funded labs, and they also have interesting research that is ongoing in the area of energy technologies, and you have chosen UCL. And then your second choice is energy engineering from University of Hull. And the reason why you're choosing energy engineering from University of Hull is because of their industry link. That is where 10% of the energy of the United Kingdom comes from. And then your third choice can be something like energy policy. And you said the reason why you are choosing energy policy as a third choice is because you understand the role that policy plays in energy security and also the choice of energy mix. And that's why you want to study energy policy, and you say you want to study it from Robert Gordon University, Aberdeen. So you can see that these three choices are not far-fetched. They are related to one another. It's not like you want to study A in the first university and then you are studying Z in the second university. They are kind of close. So if you can demonstrate that you want to go to the United Kingdom to study, and you can tell the courses that you want to study, it will go a long way in helping you. Also, you should know that at this point, when you are writing this essay that has to do with talking about your chosen universities and why you want to study there, it would read like a statement of purpose, which is a primary document that you write when you're applying to universities, because one of the things you are going to communicate in the statement of purpose is your reason for choosing that university. Also, bear in mind that scholarships are not charity, so you need to emphasize the program. You also need to talk about it in line with your profession or your professional interest. So if you had a background in mechanical engineering, let's stick with the example of renewable energy. You had a background in mechanical engineering. Yeah, it would be nice to say, okay, yes, from your undergraduate days, you have always had an interest in energy and looking at the geopolitics of energy today and how the oil price is rising and energy security is being affected due to conflicts in Russia. You talk a little bit about the pipeline crisis of how Russian gas is not being supplied to continental Europe anymore. And because of that, they are reverting to coal. And because of that, it's slowing down the transition to clean energy systems. And you're able to say, okay, because of that, I want to go and study renewable energy systems because I believe that it is the way forward and I want to contribute my quota to the development of clean energy systems and to accelerate the energy transition. You have been able to state a case there for yourself. You have been able to state a compelling reason, and you have also demonstrated a track record, particularly if you have done something or in your career, you have worked in the energy field or you have done one project or the other. This would be a good place to also communicate that. Another thing, so another dimension to the question is talking about your future plans. Remember, all these things are in 500 words. Talking about your future plans, you should be able to communicate what you would do afterwards. Like when you learn from the university, how you are going how you are going to use the skills that you have developed to better the lives of people. There is another question that comes afterwards, which talks about what your future plans are. And that one is a bit more robust. So you may not spend too much time talking about your future plans here. But one thing you need to do is to connect the dots. There must be a bridge. And one question that people usually ask when it comes to, one question people normally ask is, what if what I'm studying or what I want to go and study is not in line with what I studied in my first degree? Maybe in your first degree, you studied food science, and now you want to study data analytics. How do you connect the dots? And that is a question that many people usually have. But one thing I would say is that there has to be a bridge. There has to be a bridge. At this point, please, I just want you to signify in the chat if you are following. Just put a comment so that I'm sure that people are following the conversation. We're going to want you to engage in the chat. You just chat part of the conversation because oh, good. Josiah, you're following. It's good to hear. Thank you. All right. So as I was saying, you need to, if you are studying something, you want to go to the UK to study something that is quite different from what you studied in your first degree, you need to find that bridge. I'm going to give myself as an example. Yeah. Or is it a good example? Okay. So you need to find that bridge. And that bridge can come in the area of your volunteering experience. It can come in the area of what you have done previously. So maybe you studied food science now, and then you are interested in data analytics. You want to go and study it as a profession or data science. Find a way to connect it. You could say, okay, even though I studied food science in my first degree, but increasingly I'm beginning to understand the importance of data, the important role data plays in modern society, from the smartwatches to the wearables and the devices that we use on a day-to-day basis, and how much data can be mined and how this data can actually be used, put into productive use for the benefit of society. And every day I see how data is being used, and I want to be able to interpret that data and put it to profitable use, particularly in the area of food science. You could bring it home. You could talk about how data could be used in the area of food science to make better supplements. You could talk about how data could be used in the area of healthcare. If you're someone who had a background in maybe public health and you want to go into data analytics, you could say something like, from my experience as a public health enthusiast, volunteering and going on outreaches, have come to realize that a lot of people, a lot of sorry, trying to get my thoughts together. So I find out that when I go to public hospitals, that a lot of patients are attended to by only few doctors, and the people who are on the waiting list or on the queue are people who are sickly. And due to the inefficiency that is found in the public hospitals, these people don't get quality healthcare service. And this is due to the bureaucracy and the encumbrances of poorly structured poor organization. Now you now talk about how data can make things different or make things better. What if the forms are filled electronically and everybody has a file? So they don't have to start looking for your file anytime you come to the hospital. They will not start running up and down looking for where to get your file. It would make the process a bit more seamless, and it would simply mean that the turnover, the turnaround time is faster. So one doctor doesn't need to spend as much as 15-20 minutes with a patient. It becomes faster, and that has been brought about due to better management of data or better data systems. So you look at how the intervention of data in healthcare can be profitable to society, and then you join it together. So that way you have been able to show why, even with your background and your experience in healthcare services, you are wanting to take on a role or learn about data analytics or data science and how it comes together. So that is the bridge. So if you can tell a compelling story, as to why you are switching or why you are taking on a new course that is not particularly in the part of your first degree, if you can tell that story, it's going to be very helpful to you. So what I did when I was when I finished from my bachelor's in mechanical engineering, and I found myself working in the bank. And I was concerned because I was afraid that when I want to leave the bank, the reason why I was working in the bank was because I needed to work, I needed a job. And I was afraid that if I leave the bank, it will be very difficult to justify my returning to do a master's after so many years of not being in the field. So what did I do? I started to play around the area of sustainability, because sustainability is all encompassing. It has its impacts in business, it has its impacts in engineering, it has its impacts in energy. So based on that, I just looked for that overarching concept, which is sustainability, and started to work in that area and volunteer in that area. So at the end of the day, when I left the banking industry and I wanted to return back to school, and I wanted to do a program in renewable energy technologies, I could say, okay, even though I have not been working actively as a mechanical engineer for all these years, but I have been volunteering in the area of sustainability, and I've been carrying out advocacy projects, knowing that sustainability is very important for the survival of human beings as a species, and also talked about the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals, talked about the goals that are most important to me and the impacts that I've been able to make and the projects I've been able to undertake. It became easier for me to get into that role as opposed to not having any link. How do you justify somebody who is doing credit and debit today, and then he says that he wants to go back to engineering and clean energy? So you need to look for that bridge. And if you are applying for the Chevening this year, look for the bridge in what you have done. If not, I would advise you start working or start thinking about it actively. One of the easiest ways, the low-hanging fruit for you to find that bridge, is to volunteer with organizations that are in that space. So if you are thinking of doing a public policy master's degree program, you need to start looking for organizations that are the front lines of public policy and volunteer with them. One that just comes to my head is Policy Shapers. So Policy Shapers is founded by a friend of mine, and what they are doing is to try and influence the policy of foreign institutions on this IELTS thing. They feel that Nigerians are trained and educated in the English language, so why should they have to write the IELTS exam? And a few countries do not write it. A few other countries that are part of the Commonwealth, they don't write it. So why should Nigerians write it? And they are actively advocating for Nigerians to be given the pass. And they have been recording some successes. So working with this kind of organization and volunteering with them simply means that you're already exposed to the world of public policy. You're already exposed to the world of influencing policy and shaping policy. And by the time you are going to do a master's in public policy, but if you can talk to them or put a compelling essay and they see what you have done, it becomes much easier. So that's an easy bridge, which is getting your hands dirty, so to speak, in the area of volunteering, and in the long run, it's going to pay you very well. So I think we have spent some time speaking on the third point. The final essay speaks to your leadership is that you should be able to communicate what you want to do. What are your plans? You're not just free riding. So in this last question, what they want to see is your short-term goals, your medium-term goals, and your long-term goals. And remember, you are telling a story, so it should flow from the beginning of your essay to the end of your essay. Anybody reading it together should see that level of consistency. You should see that consistency as if you're saying one thing. It's not as if you're saying something that contradicts what you say in your next essay. So it should flow. So in this point, you want to talk about how the program that you are studying for is going to help you, right? You want to tell them that, okay, if I go to the University of Hull and I study energy engineering, in the short term, I will return back to my country and work with a disco or a distribution company, or I'm going to work with a GENCO, a generation company in so place. That is my goal. And what do I want to do? I want to contribute my skills to ensure that we have more renewable energy injected into Nigeria's grid. That is a short-term goal. In the medium term, I want to take up managerial roles to ensure that younger generation of engineers are trained and mentored and also put through so that they can become experts, build a core of experts. I also want to volunteer with organizations that are the front lines of energy advocacy, speaking in favor of renewable energy, speaking in favor of the energy transition. I want to join, or I want to found an organization like that. That is in the mid-term. In the long term, you have the flexibility of saying that you even want to become the president of Nigeria, or you want to become an energy minister. But the thing here is that they want to see that progression, because the Chevening scholarship is not a scholarship for mean men. It's a scholarship for people who have ambition, who are working towards it. And they believe that the people that they are giving this scholarship are people who would be the who is who in their country in 15, 20 years time. So if you are communicating that to them, then they see that, okay, these are the kind of people that we want to have. So you need to be able to communicate your goals, your medium term, your short term, your long term goal. And one tip I would give when you're writing this essay is to use the SMART framework. The SMART framework is used when you are talking about goals. So it should be specific. Your goals should be specific. It should be measurable. It should be achievable. It should be realistic, and it should also be time bound. Specific. What exactly do you want to be? What exactly is your ambition? What exactly is your ambition in the short term? What are you looking forward to? Measurable. At least you should be able to say that by 2025, I should be here. I should be doing this. I should be doing that. So that people can see it and say, oh, this is not just something that someone is saying, but it's actually something that is measurable. What are the criteria you're going to use to measure it? What are the indices that you would use to measure it? If you say something like you want to become an energy leader of repute, how do you explain that? How do you measure it? How do you measure being an energy leader of repute? What is the criteria for doing that? So if you just use generic words, you may not communicate that exactly. But if you are using it based on a particular criteria, say you want to become a certified engineer, or you want to become a member of a professional body, you talk about the level of membership you want to have. You don't just want to be an entry level person, or there's something you are looking at, and this is the benchmark. This is what you are going to use to measure it. You communicate that. It should also be achievable, not something that you just say randomly that my goal is to change the world. Change the world. What exactly does it mean? What exactly does it mean? So you need to say words or make sentences that actually are like there's something you can achieve or attain, something that is not impossible. Like you cannot just say that, okay, as a renewable energy expert, I want to be able to create 20,000 megawatts. How are you going to go about that as an individual, knowing the cost that it takes to build such a power plant? So if you are saying something that is not achievable or is not attainable, it's not going to fly. So it should also be realistic, and it should be something that is relevant also as well to your life's purpose. So whatever your goals are, make sure it tallies with your life's purpose. It shouldn't be out of the way. It shouldn't be by the side. But you see that if you are following the trajectory, say, okay, yes, it is actionable and it is something that can be achieved. And one thing that would help you, one recommendation I would give is look for a mentor in that your field, someone who has reached that level, and use that person as a kind of benchmark. It would be helpful for you to understand what exactly is achievable, what is attainable, what is realistic. It's going to be helpful. And also time bound. Use time to measure the goals. Like your short-term goal could be within 2 to 3 years. Your long-term goal may be from your medium-term goal could be in 5 to 7 years time. Your long-term goal could be in 15 years. All these things should be communicated in your final essay. Let me see if there's any other point that I am missing. Okay, so at this point, I'd like to open the floor for questions. If you have any questions, can you just take advantage of the chat box and chat your questions? Someone didn't get the statement of purpose, Sandra, but so what I was saying is, when I mentioned statement of purpose, I was talking about one of the essays, and that's the third essay that talks about what you want to do, what you want to study. And I said that it's kind of related to your statement of purpose, which you sent to the university when you are applying. And why I said so is that you would need to communicate to the chevening body why you are choosing that school, why you are choosing that course. And also, I didn't mention this earlier on, why you are choosing the United Kingdom. So there are many reasons why people go to the United Kingdom to study. One of the reasons is that UK is a melting pot of cultures. A lot of people come to the United Kingdom to study. Another reason is that the United Kingdom is highly rated in terms of research and in terms of the quality of education. So a lot of people want to come to the UK to study. Another reason why you may choose to study in the United Kingdom is because they have demonstrated expertise in that your field of study, and you have identified a school that can teach it very well. So there are a lot of reasons. If you go to the chevening.org page, there is a place where you would find so much information that is very helpful to you. Go to the frequently asked questions. You would see a lot of questions that have been asked, and the answers are already provided. And also, you could see how to choose the right UK university for you. That's another resource that is very helpful. And you can go there and choose and see factors that you need to consider before choosing a university. That's going to help in your essay as well. And also, there's another area where you see Chevening scholars create positive change, and then you get to see what Chevening scholars, current Chevening scholars or alumni members are doing in the world today. So you know that you are in a company of people who are actually making a difference. So that's that. Someone is asking, what if I don't have up to 2 years of working experience? Well, if you don't have up to 2 years of working experience, then it would be advisable for you to keep working at it and building your pedigree until you have that. And remember, I said earlier on that it must not be employed work. You could be volunteering, and you have volunteer experience of 2 years. That it's going to count for you. You should also be able to, it's also good for you now, because a lot of this information I'm dropping, people that are qualified to write to apply for the Chevening scholarship, and see that, oh, they have not been doing much, they haven't really done a lot in that regard. But you that you don't have up to 2 years of experience, you can start to build your profile and your pedigree such that when you are qualified, you can actually put in a solid application. And one thing I like to tell people when they are applying for scholarships is that you need to understand what the motive of the scholarship body is all about. What are they looking for? So there are some scholarships that they look out for academic excellence. That is what they want. So they'll tell you that you shouldn't get below, it's from 2-1 and above, and that is their own. But the Chevening scholarship is all about leadership. And that is a good thing, because those who do not have a 2-1 or first class can still apply. You can still put in an application and you will be selected. A few days ago, I was listening to the story of somebody who got this Chevening scholarship, and the person finished with a 2-2. Person finished with a 2-2. So if you have a 2-2, you can still put in a good application, depending on how much of leadership you have shown, how much impact you have made in the society around you. You can still put in a solid application. So don't feel because you don't have a first class or a 2-1, you're not going to apply for this, or you write yourself off. Don't write yourself off. You stand a good chance if you have a solid pedigree in the area of leadership. So that's about that. Okay, someone is asking, can someone who is an undergraduate that is one who has finished NCE and still doing degree apply? Okay, I need to point out that one of the requirements for getting a Chevening scholarship is that you should have completed your undergraduate program. So it's a requirement. You need to have completed your undergraduate program, and that is an eligibility criteria. Let me read out the eligibility criteria. A candidate must hold a bachelor's degree before applying. A candidate must be a citizen of one of the Chevening eligible countries or territories. Nigeria is one of that, so you don't need to worry. He or she must have at least 2 years of work experience. Also must fulfill the criteria of English language requirements. So for this English language requirement, a few years ago, the IELTS used to be a strong requirement for applying for the Chevening scholarship. But I think about 2 years ago, it was scrapped, particularly during that period of COVID, it stopped being a requirement. So you need to have a BSc, or you need to have a bachelor's degree for you to apply. You need to have at least 2 years of work experience for you to apply. You need to also commit to coming back to your country to spend at least 2 years. After your post-study, you must spend at least 2 years in your home country so that you can contribute to the development of your country, because that's what they are looking out for. So those are the 3 major eligibility requirements. Also, you need to apply to 3 different eligible UK university courses, and I've received an unconditional offer from one of these choices. So that is not a problem for you at this stage of the application. It's when it's time for the interview that you must present a university, or you must have an unconditional offer from one of the universities that you have chosen. Yeah. So that's that. Someone was asking, can you elaborate on the selection of your university, the point that needs to be captured? Okay, so I am going to put a link. I'm going to chat a link now on what you need to do, or how you need to choose the right university. There's a blog from Chevening, and you will see the factors that you need to consider when applying for or choosing a university. Just give me a moment. Let me put in the chat. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I just put in the chat now. So when you are choosing a university, you need to have a good reason for choosing that university, and you need to be able to communicate the reason. A good reason could be due to their research prowess. Another good reason could be due to their alumni, like those who have studied the program and how successful they are in industry today. Another good reason could be the professors that are teaching the course in the university and the output that they are making, or contribution they're making to society. Another good reason could be due to the funding or the track record of the university. It could be that they have just received 200 or 200 million pounds in funding for research in a particular area, maybe the area you're interested in. It could be that they've just received funding in that area and say, oh, because of that, that simply means that there's going to be a lot of research in this area, and you believe that you do very well being a part of the program at this point in time. That's another good reason. Another reason too could be their experience or their link to industry. Or another good reason could also be the fact that people who come out from the university are well respected in industry. That could also be a good reason. So there are a lot of reasons that you could present for why you selected a particular university. You could, I'm going back to the University of Hull again. The University of Hull says that they want to be climate or neutral, they want to achieve net zero by 20 something, and they are committed to sustainability. That could also be a reason. Maybe you are someone who is interested in sustainability and you're a sustainability enthusiast, and you say, oh, I have noticed that aside from their research prowess, aside from their competence, aside from their whatever, I also realized that the University of Hull has a strong interest in sustainability and have committed to achieving net zero by 20 so. Being a sustainability enthusiast, I believe that it is important for me to study in a university where sustainability is strongly encouraged. It is also a good way. It's also something good that you can also, that's a good reason you could also give for your choice of study. Please keep your questions coming in, trying to go through to ensure I don't miss anyone. Okay, I'm seeing a question from Ezekiel. Someone who studied chemistry in the first degree, but developed myself in computer hardware engineering as my work, but still wants to go back to MSc in chemistry. How do I manage this, please? Okay, so since the time you left studies in chemistry till now, have you done anything related to chemistry? That's where the bridge now comes in. That's where the bridge comes in, because it's been a long time. I don't know. I'm just saying it could be that maybe you have stayed so long away from chemistry and now you want to go back. What have you been doing? It may not be It may not be that you've been actively working in the field of chemistry, but how have you been following? How can you demonstrate that you have been following and you have been up to date with developments in the field? Have you been reading books? Have you been listening to webinars or attending capacity building programs? Just how can you demonstrate that you are still interested in this? It's very important. Also, your final year project, beyond that, how can you demonstrate that after your studies, you are still interested in that field? Or are you trying to build on what you finished in your first degree and build on it and do more research in that area? So these are some of the things that you can answer that would be helpful in your application. Let me see. Please, if I have not responded to your question or you chatted me up privately, I'm using two accounts, so it's a bit difficult going back and forth. Can you just put it in the general chat so that I could flag it? Thank you. Someone is asking, please, are there scholarship opportunities for those that have not finished their undergraduate program? Yes, there are scholarship opportunities, but that is not the scope of our discussion today. We are talking particularly on the Chevening scholarship because it's open. So another thing about the Chevening scholarship that I should mention is that it's open for a few weeks. So it's important for you to start your applications as early as possible. Start writing your essays. And I'm going to share with us some resources now that will be helpful for us when we're writing our essays, because you need to put your best foot forward. There is an app called Grammarly, and with Grammarly, you can edit it checks your grammar basically. Let me share my screen. Oh dear. Okay. Okay, so this is Grammarly. This is how the interface is. And this is the premium version. So I'm just going to give a sample. Let me see if I can upload the document. Okay, so this is something I'm working on currently. So this is how the interface works. If you finish writing your essay, you upload it and you can easily create an account with your Gmail. So what it does is that it goes through the essay and uses artificial intelligence to score your work. See here, see overall score, this is 95. And there are issues that it has picked up. Marks and Spencer is. So it feels Marks and Spencer are is the correct one to use. And a few other things. Look at this. It feels that sector, the word sector has been used repeatedly. Industry would be a better word to use so that you don't keep repeating your words. So basically how this works is that it makes your grammar to be solid, and it checks everything so that you don't make grammatical errors or make or put off your interviewer or your reviewer because you are speaking bad grammar. So Grammarly will help you sort out all those challenges. So this is the increase in taxes by the government can have negative effects on the company's products. So it's rewriting the statement for me to say the government's increase in taxes can negatively affect the price of the company's product. This is a better way to put it. And the beautiful thing about this is that you can set the goals, adjust your goals depending on the audience. So the audience, is it a general audience or people that are knowledgeable or experts? You can set it formal, formality, is it informal, neutral, or formal? What are you writing for? Are you writing academic writing, business writing? Is academic because this Cheven is academic. What is the intent? Are you trying to tell a story? Are you trying to convince? You can set it, and based on your settings, it will now assess the work that you are doing and help you score your work. So this is a very good tool that you can utilize. There's another one I can't remember at this point, but that one helps for plagiarism. Just give me a minute. Let me see if I can pull it out. So for those who don't know what plagiarism is something that the academic community frowns upon, and that's copying somebody else's work and putting it as your work. So if you just do a basic search to see Chevening essays, you will see a lot online, what people have written before, and somebody can just go and copy that work and put it as his own work. But plagiarism is just an easy way of telling yourself that you don't want the scholarship anymore, because they are going to check your work against with using plagiarism checkers. But there is an AI program that helps you to ensure that your work, okay, Quillbot, that's the name, Quillbot, that your work is not plagiarized. So that's another tool I want to share with us. As you can see from my screen, just search Quillbot. Is a paraphrasing tool that you can use, and it could be helpful to you beyond your it could be helpful to you beyond the Chevening scholarship. So if you have a word, let's go back to our Marks and Spencer example. If you have a word, a sentence like this, and you pass it through the plagiarism, the paraphrasing tool, you must have created an account before you can use it. Or rather, if you create an account, it's better for you because you have access to more words. So as you have put it here like this, can you see my screen? Okay, good. Yeah. So as you have
We do, sir. We do, sir.
Okay, thank you. As you put it here, if you paraphrase it, you will see that this same words that you put here would be rewritten in a different way. Sorry. It's rewritten in a different way. And that is a way that you can use to rewrite your sentences such that you are sure that it's not being plagiarized. It's a good way to rephrase your sentences. So the first sentence is saying, despite experiencing setbacks in 2020 due to the coronavirus pandemic, the retail industry in the UK grew consistently for over a decade. Studies show that in 2021, the total value of retail sales, excluding automotive fuel in Great Britain, was £422.476 billion. Now, that sentence was rewritten. So, despite obstacles brought on by coronavirus pandemic in 2020, the retail sector in the United Kingdom developed steadily for more than 10 years. According to studies, Great Britain's overall retail sales in 2021, excluding gasoline for automobiles, we are worth £422.476 billion. That's a different way of writing it. And in the same way, just like you had with Grammarly, you could also set it in terms of what you want, but that's if you have the premium version. So these are some tools that you could take advantage of in your essay writing to make sure that you have a very coherent and compelling essay and something that is easy for you to read. So I'm going to stop sharing now. Another thing I want to point out is when you're writing your essay, someone asks for templates. Maybe I could share that with us later on. When you're writing your essays, you need to stand out. You need to stand out with your story. You need to stand out with the way you tell your story. The reason for that is the reviewers are reviewing a lot of essays. So the people who form a part of the review committee are alumni members of the Chevening Scholarship. That's why I really would have loved Dr. Godwin to speak to us, because he could also share some tips on how these things are marked. So if we have the marking scheme, it would have helped us more. But nevertheless, the point I'm trying to make here is that it's about 500 people that may be reviewing. I don't think there are up to 500 people that review the essays. And they could be reviewing as much as 10,000 applications. So you can imagine how much essays, and every person that is submitting an essay is submitting 4, right? So you can imagine how many essays each reviewer would have to review. That being the case, if your essay does not stand out, it is easy for them to just push it by the side, because they are looking at so many things. So if you are saying things that you expect everybody would say, if you are saying those things in your essay, you are not going to stand out. You are saying things like, I want to go to the UK because the UK is is a reputable or a world-renowned, UK universities are world-renowned. Yes, it's true, UK universities are world-renowned, but how can you put it in such a way that it stands out? If you want to tell your story and talk about how you have been able to make a difference in your society, how would you tell the story such that it remains indelible in the mind of the person who is going to review the scholarship or your application? How does it remain indelible? 5 people could tell a story around public health or their exploits in the domain of public health, but one person's story will stand out of all of them. And of course, you can expect that people who are applying for these things, they would fall under thematic areas. You'll find out that there are people who are looking to go to study programs that are around energy. You will find out there are people that are going to study programs around public health. You find out there are people that are going to study programs around journalism. You find out that there are people going to study programs around creative arts or creative writing. Different programs, right? And these are thematic areas. So if you have 50 people looking to go to study renewable energy, how have these 50 people told their story in such a way that, or how will you tell your story in such a way that you will stand out in the memory of the person reviewing 50 renewable energy candidates? How will you tell that story? So that is where the work lies. It is not just about writing everything that comes to your mind, but rather condensing this information and being creative in the way you put the information such that it stands out in the mind of the person that is reviewing it, and the person can review it, look at it and say, wow, this is actually a very good essay. So your essay writing skills would be very important. And I think if you're writing, you are planning to apply for the Chevening Scholarship, you could do some hard work of studying tips on how to write your essays. You can get videos on YouTube that are very helpful. Study it and apply some of those techniques in your essay and some of these storytelling techniques. If you can do that, it would help. Because I want to assure you, one assurance I want to give you, that the people that get these scholarships, they work hard for it. They are ready to go above and beyond. And now we have time on our side. So if you actually put in your applications now, you can adjust and adjust and adjust and adjust and adjust until you get the perfect iteration of what you intend to submit. So now is the time to get to work. Let's see if we have more questions, because we have stayed on this call for quite some time now, and we need to end the call soon. Okay, Ezekiel is asking if there will be an avenue for me to edit the SOPs. So the truth is, I would love to take a look at SOPs, but I cannot guarantee that because there are a lot that I'm working on right now. However, there is no harm in trying. I would put my email address. So if you have your SOP and you want me to take a look at it, I would get back to you if it's something I can do. But first of all, before you get to that level, you must have written and rewritten and also asked your friends to also look at it to see if there are things that you are missing out. I have your email addresses, so I can also send templates. Remember, these templates are just to guide you on how to apply for these scholarships, not for you to copy verbatim. Because if you copy verbatim, you will be caught. So please do not plagiarize so that you don't jeopardize your chances of getting the scholarship or get on some form of blacklist. Yeah. What is the age limit? Okay, the Chevening scholarship, that's a very good question. The Chevening scholarship does not have any age limit, so to say. There are people in their 40s that have been able to get the scholarship. Remember, I told you that their criteria they're looking for, and in their 30s have gotten this Chevening scholarship. People who are fresh graduates from undergraduate and have met the requirements of 2 years work experience have gotten it. I mean, age-wise, people that are young have gotten it. People that are old have gotten it. So there's no age limit. There's no age limit. Let me see if there's any other question. Someone says, I'm in my final year hoping to apply next year. I've been trying to volunteer with organizations related to my field, but been having a decline. I don't know if online volunteering counts. I think this question, I would need to get a bit more context. What exactly is your field that you're intending to volunteer in? What exactly is the reason they gave you for declining? Maybe you're not putting a solid application. Online volunteering can count because volunteering is all about what you have to offer. Someone who is a graphic designer is a volunteer, and it's not something that you go on site to do. You actually have to sit remotely and design the flyers. So that is an online volunteer, and it counts because you're actually part of the process. And whatsoever flyer you made, after all, somebody made the flyer with which we advertise this program. That person also has contributed. Whatsoever success that will come out of this program also is attributable to the person who designed the flyer. So yes, online volunteering counts as well. Online volunteering counts. Someone who has his HND as his first degree. This is a very good question. So I remember that there was a time the Nigerian government made the HND equivalent to a degree program. So if you can justify that, I think it should be able to fly, but I cannot really give an answer on this, and I'll try to find out if there are persons who had an HND and were able to get into the Chevening scholarship. This is a very good question. I'll take note of this and get back to us. Can somebody apply for PhD directly with his first degree? This is a question outside our topic of conversation. But the answer is yes. The answer is yes. But remember, the Chevening scholarship is just for master's level and is a one-year program. Okay, I think we have covered based on the questions. Can we get this video later? Yes, the video this is being recorded and it's on YouTube. So if you go to the Watchman Campus Fellowship, the YouTube page, you would see this. It's recorded. So you can access this afterwards. Dr. Godwin, I see you again. Can you, I don't know if your internet is better now. Maybe you can say a few words before we close. I want us to close before it's 9. Okay. So what can happen is maybe because we have just started the process with the tips that we have learned today, we can begin to implement them. And I believe when we start writing our essays, more questions will come out, right? So maybe we can have a follow-up webinar, and then we can get Dr. Godwin to speak, and that would be very helpful. So we would call it wraps for today. Let's start engaging. Let's start writing. Let's start researching on what we want. And also, it's not early to start applying for the 2023-2024 academic session. Start applying. Start researching on the schools, because all these things will form part of your essay. And beyond the chevening, we are going to be discussing other scholarship opportunities too. So from time to time, we would have different webinars. We could have webinars on how to access universities in the US. Today, we are talking about the UK. We'll talk about what you need to do to get opportunities in the United States, get fully funded scholarships. In the US, we also profile some other prestigious scholarships. Also in Europe, maybe places like Netherlands, places like Germany, we could from time to time also have those conversations. So this is just the first. This is just the first, and it's a pilot. And I'm so grateful for the turn up. We have been attentive for almost 2 hours now, and I'm so grateful for your time. I'm grateful to share the evening with you. Also grateful to Dr. Godwin, who came and is still on the call, but due to contingencies, he has not been able to speak with us. So I really appreciate every person for coming on. I see Chinonso's hand is up before we close. Chinonso, can you go ahead? What will you have to say? Chinonso and Peculiar, we have just 5 minutes left on the call, so the floor is open.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Good evening, sir.
Yeah,
So I don't
evening.
know. It's concerning those that, like I asked earlier, if you have HND as your first degree, is it open to those two, or just BSc? Thank you, sir.
Thank you. It's a good question, and I cannot give you an answer right now. So I'm going to find out. I'll ask questions about people, if there are people who have been able to go ahead with it, and I'll give feedback. Let me just put my contact details in the chat box. So if you have any question like that, you could just follow up with me so that I know that I need to respond to you personally. Peculiar, you can go ahead.
Hello, good evening, sir, and good evening, all.
Good evening.
Though I came late, it escaped my memory. I joined late. Another thing was the network was not really favoring here. I want to ask if there's how I can get a video clip of this tutorial, because I know that I'm supposed to know what is there. I'm supposed to be benefited, but I'm sorry I came late and network was another thing.
Okay,
Thank you.
there's no problem. So this is going to be live on YouTube, so you can easily refer to it. You just need to go to the Campus Missions YouTube page, and you would see the recording there.
It's okay, sir. Thank you.
God bless you. Yeah. So okay, Chima, your hand is up. Can you go ahead? The floor is yours.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, sir. I really appreciate the opportunity you've given to us to benefit this night. I want to ask if, because I've researched and I found out that the 6 months of our IT is not counted as work experience. I don't know if there's a way I can diplomatically convert it to a part-time work to enhance my work experience, to make it up to that number of hours that they want. I don't know if I can convert my 6 months IT to kind of part-time experience, work experience, to complement my work experience. Thank you very much.
Okay, that's a good question. Yes, they don't usually accept school IT as work experience, and that's why I usually encourage for volunteer experience, because I think it's about 2,800 hours of work experience they're looking for, and that's roughly 2 years. So if you are already volunteering, it's a good way for you to cut that off. You know, in Nigeria of today, a lot of people are unemployed, and besides the money that they are not getting, it's also closing them out from opportunity, or from getting opportunities. But if you're volunteering, that is just a way of bypassing this, and that's why I keep recommending people should volunteer, because in the long run, you're not just giving your services to these organizations, but you are also opening your way. If my successes today, I tie it to, of course, God, and the the voluntary work that I've done in times past, and the success and the level of impact. That is the reason why I've been able to access some scholarships, and that's why we are having this conversation today. So one thing I would say is just look for an organization working in that your field. Look for how much value you can offer them, and then you can communicate your value when you're writing your essay, basically. So that's how it works. All right, I think
All
we are
right, sir.
done.
Thank you, sir.
Ezekiel, we have just 1 minute. Go. Yeah, Mr. Ezekiel, the floor is yours. I see your hand up. After that, then we will now hear from our pastor, Pastor Emmanuel, who is our National Campus Missions Coordinator. Mr. Ezekiel, I still can't hear from you. Okay, Pastor Emmanuel, over to you, sir.
Okay. Thank you very much for the lecture. I appreciate everyone that come around. And the question I want to ask is that people that have PhD, can they still apply? Number one. Yeah, I think that's the question I need to ask for now.
Okay. So how I will answer this question is, you don't need to tell them you have PhD. If you tell them you have PhD, you're going to foreclose yourself. So there are certain things that you can leave out of your application, and it is not going to negatively impact on you. Let me just give an example. So I applied to a university in the United Kingdom for a master's degree, and I put a transcript for a program that I have not finished, a master's program too. And it now became a problem for me, in that they're asking, why will I be applying to their school when I already have a master's? You understand? So it now becomes I now have the extra challenge of convincing them. But if I had applied with my BSc, not mentioning the master's, it would have been much easier for me. So if you have a PhD in a particular field and you feel that you want to do a master's, you may not need to mention your PhD. You just apply with your BSc, and you can go ahead to apply for it, particularly if it is in another field. So I think it can work. All right. We are
Okay, and another thing, I think if you can watch the YouTube, it has been sent in the chat box, so we can copy it for people that couldn't meet up in time. They can watch it through this link sent to the chat box.
Thank you very much, sir. That's very helpful. I can see it now. That's very helpful. So if you would like to refer to the conversation, you could just open up the YouTube link and bookmark it or like it so that you can easily refer back to it and some part of the conversation that will be helpful to you. So right now we will be calling it quits for tonight, and I just want to appreciate everybody once again for coming on the program and for the questions as well. This is the first of its kind, and from now on, we'll be having more conversations. We'll be inviting more resource persons to speak on different scholarship opportunities that we can take advantage of. Now is the time that we must move, and every person needs to take advantage of it. So thank you once again, and good night from here. Bye.
Thank you too, sir, and God bless you.
Good night. God bless you all.
God bless you. Good night.
Good night, sir.
God bless.